We'll call our committee meetings to order for October the 11th, 2022. Hope everybody's had a great day. We'll get started. We'd like to call Commissioner Perky up to us first and give us an update on the public safety radio system. Commissioner?
Mr. Chairman, thank you, members of the commission. I was talking to Bill Britton a couple weeks ago, and he agreed it'd probably be a good idea for me to come today and just give you a progress report on the new radio system for the city, county, and Walter State, particularly for the new commissioners. Just brief history, and then I'll get directly to your questions just as soon as I can. About 2 years ago, the city retained me to look at the current radio system that they provide the infrastructure for that supported the city, county, and Walter State. It's a 45-year-old system that is for all police, fire, EMS, and other support agencies in the city and county. The system is owned by the city. It's always been owned by the city, and they've allowed the county to piggyback on the system for the past 45 years at no charge, I might add. So realizing that it was not in the digital age and realizing that the primary technician for the system, Mr. Steve Peoples, who a lot of you know, he's been a city employee for 20 years and actually started the system about 25 years before that in the private sector. Steve is looking at retirement. Well, the city realized that there would be no one left to work on that legacy system that we call it. So they asked me to conduct a study of what we had, the history of the system, and make recommendations for the future. I completed that study. It's here. The veteran commissioners have the study. I'll be glad to provide a copy for any new commissioners that want to see it. Basically, it's about a 25-page report. I did extensive interviews of city, county, and Walter State personnel, done interviews with surrounding counties, looked at the current system that we have, did an inventory of the current system, and found discrepancies and deficiencies in the system. And without going into the details of the current system, I would tell you that first responders do a very good job of adapting to what they have. And for years and years, first responders in this city and county realize that they have poor reception areas, they have no reception areas, and they use cell phones to communicate with the 911 center and with their fellow officers or personnel. This is very dangerous. It's very dangerous for them to do that. A lot of times they're not able to get a cell phone on and make a call, depending on the situation that happens. So took my findings to the city, made 4 recommendations on options, brought those recommendations back, and the city council adopted the number 1 recommendation, which was to go with the state of Tennessee Advanced Communications Network. And this is commonly referred to as TACN, and in short, basically, the Highway Patrol is on the system. It was started about 8 years ago. While I was in Nashville, I actually helped implement the system as in the leadership of the Department of Safety and Homeland Security. It is widely used now across the state by corrections, TWRA, the Highway Patrol, TDOT, numerous other state agencies. It cost $120 million to build out at the time, and they've made significant improvements to it since then. The system that was chose for here, the state allows local governments to sign on to the system. Obviously, you have to pay for your own radios. If you need an infrastructure site, you have to pay for that infrastructure site. We could have signed on to this system without building out our own site. But we realized once we looked at the coverage maps, the topography of the county, Ms. Green, down in your area, it's very difficult to cover that area. It's up, down, and around everywhere you go. And we felt like the best thing to do was to build out our own site. We had an ideal site. It's located on Pine Brook Road. It's a site that the city owns. And if you're driving up 160 and you look at the substation for Morristown Utilities out on 160 near 25E, you'll see a ridge that's got about 5 antennas on it. The farthest antenna to the right is a city antenna. It's totally owned by the city, the property's owned by the city, and the decision was made to use that site as our entryway into the system. So once this system is implemented, and the reason I'm here today is we're on the doorstep of that, then first responders in this county will have access to a state antenna in Cocke County, one in Greene County, one in Hawkins County, one in Claiborne County, and our own site here in Morristown and Hamblen County. We turned on our site here in Hamblen County about 10 days ago. It is performing as we thought it would perform. The signals are very strong. We're in a testing mode now, and the testing has gone very well. So we're at the end of the project. This is one of the radios that everyone will have. What makes this project unique is that we will be the first local government in the state of Tennessee to go LTE broadband-based public safety communications. Now, what does that mean? This radio is a microprocessor. It is continuously trying to find the strongest signal. It will switch from Pine Brook to Viking Mountain to English Mountain to Short Mountain. It will switch between those trying to find the strongest signal and maintain that strong signal. Whenever it does not find a strong signal, it goes to the nearest AT&T cellular site. We have 18 AT&T cellular sites either in Hamblen County or on the border of Hamblen County. So we're getting the best system that you can buy. The Highway Patrol now uses this system, and in the words of one of the troopers to me the other day, he said, "David, we don't need the mobiles. You know, the portables are great." So we'll be the first local government agencies in the state to do that. Once we started the process, Hamblen County was interested, and then Walter State came on board, and we were able to identify both at the city and county level federal COVID monies in order to pay for this. It's an expensive project. It's about a $5 million project, $3 million with the city, $2.5 million with the county. Walter State obviously bought their own equipment, and again, we're on the cusp of implementing the system after 2 years. We'll have a ribbon cutting this Friday at the TCAT Center at 10 a.m. I would invite you to be there. Try to be there if you can. I want to make sure you're recognized for being there. We'll have the Lieutenant Governor of the state coming, the Commissioner of Safety and Homeland Security, the President of AT&T for Tennessee, which is kind of a big job based out of Nashville. She'll be there. And we have a program put together to do a formal ribbon cutting and a roll call of the system. My job this week, Tim, is to make sure the radios work. And we've done extensive testing this week to make sure that they do work. So I invite you to that ribbon cutting. Then we'll go through a period of time next week that we will get the portables out to everyone. And with a turn on of the portables on November the 1st, we want everybody to get acclimated to the radios, go through some training on the radios that the state's going to provide. And the week after the ribbon cutting, we'll start installing the mobiles in all of the vehicles. It's about half portables and half mobiles, something less than half on mobiles. Mobiles are in vehicle, portables are like this one right here. So the system will be active as a A new mobile is installed in a vehicle, the old one will be removed, and that mobile will be on the new system. But we'll start out with everybody being on this system. It's been a great project. It has had its bumps, I would tell you, along the way. But one thing that I've been committed to is, Mr. Chairman, is staying within budget. And I made that commitment to the city and the county and Walter State, and we are going to be able to stay within budget on the project. So I'll be glad to take your questions. I realize I wasn't on the agenda, so I don't want to delay. I know you've got a heavy agenda. Any questions that I could answer for you?
Commissioner, if you would, just break that down simply, what you're telling us, though, with this new system, that now everybody on board has total coverage in Hamblen County and beyond.
That's correct.
Yes.
Initially, we had everyone in the city, county, and Walter State except EMS. There was a possibility that EMS was going to be covered under state funding, so they kind of held off on that. That fell through the cracks, and we are going to be able to bring EMS on board within budget now. So everyone in the city, county, and Walter State will be on the new system.
That's awesome. One other thing, I'm just curious on this capital outlay, what type of time frame do we have for this type of service?
Well, you talking about to spend the funds?
Yeah, well, no, sir, I mean, well, this system, before we'll need an upgrade.
Oh, okay,
You alluded
yeah.
to being LTE broadband service, and it's a constant movement as far as that technology.
Well, that's a good question. The beauty of this system is once we enter the state system, the state provides the maintenance, the upkeep of the site. They refresh the sites on a state contract that they pay for every 2 years with new software. They maintain the generator. Their technicians will be responsible for keeping the sites up and running.
Right.
That's another big thing that we don't have now, obviously. You know, we have to do that on our own. So this system, one of the commissioners asked me earlier too, this system is currently in use in all the Tri-Cities and their counties, Greenville and Greene County, Knoxville, Knox County, Oak Ridge, Anderson County, Blount County, Maryville, Chattanooga, Hamilton County. It's in use in a lot of the larger areas, this very system. It works very well. I can tell you that during the Chattanooga terrorist attack, while I was in Nashville as the governor's Homeland Security Advisor, and also during the Sevier County wildfires, the after-action reports showed no failures in the state communication system. Now, that's unprecedented. Any after-action report, and the sheriff and chief will tell you this, will show communications failures. They always do. We had no failures in the state system. In fact, the Chattanooga terrorist attack was managed out of Nashville, you know, through the state radio system, the Sevier County wildfires event. Cell towers actually lost service and were burned down. The state system stayed intact, and we were able to communicate with troopers from Nashville. In fact, it got so bad that night we almost pulled the troopers out because we were afraid of losing some of them. Sure. But it's a good system. It's the most up-to-date system that you can provide. The maps, the coverage maps, guarantee a 95 to 97% coverage without the cell towers. We think with the cell towers, you know, we'll get a 99% coverage.
Awesome.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have a question, just a comment. I appreciate your leadership during this project. It's been much needed for several years. We all know through the sheriff's department, and that there was a lot of dead spots in this county, and at times it could mean life or death. So I appreciate your efforts.
Well, to that point, Commissioner, if I could mention one other thing about the system. On every one of these radios, you'll see an orange button on the top of it. That's an emergency button. Once that button is pushed, if an officer's ambushed, if an officer's in a situation he or she did not expect, it automatically clears the channel. It doesn't matter who's talking, it clears that channel, and for 10 seconds, the microphone on this radio is opened up. It also identifies to every other radio and to the 911 center the GPS location of that officer and identifies which officer it is. That will mean wonders for the safety of our first responders. All they have to be able to do is push that emergency button. And it'll open the microphone up. Everybody will hear what's happening, and it will identify where the officer is in trouble at. So that's a benefit of the new system. Also, one more thing, Mr. Chairman, and with the AT&T FirstNet, by using that program and their towers, our radios will have priority on those towers. And it was described to me like this. It's a little bit off color, but I'll be careful with it. It's kind of like if you go in a bar and every seat is full, and you're trying to get the bartender's attention. Well, with AT&T FirstNet and having priority, you go in, grab somebody on a stool, throw them in the floor, you get on the stool and you're ordering.
Okay.
So that's the way it was described to me. It gives our first responders priority on the cell towers. When it goes to a cell tower and that tower identifies it as a FirstNet radio, it has priority on those towers. So that's very important also. Other questions? Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. We'll move on with our order of business. Chairman Horner of the Justice Center and Public Safety Committee, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'll call the Justice Center Public Safety Committee to order. If there's anyone who wishes to speak to this committee on the agenda items only, may do so at this time. Seeing none. Item 3, old business, there is none. Item 4A, Justice Center project update, Tony Pettit with Burwell Construction.
Good evening, afternoon. Give you an update on report. If you've driven by there, you've seen a lot of concrete going in. Let's try to as of September 30th, that's when we get our pay application from the contractor. He's billed to date $27,544,172. $544,172. Out of that $27 million, though, because we're trying to fight cost escalations and supply chain issues, we've got almost $16 million in stored materials. These stored materials are stored in insured areas, and we got certificate of insurance backing that up. So the work in place is actually $11.5 million, $11,600,000. Some items of note: the grading is 99% complete. We got slides going on up here too. The site utilities are about 72% complete. One of my favorite terms on the job so far is called a muffin monster, and it's being installed. So it's the where you take the sewer and it's in a macerator and it pushes a forced main for the sewer. So it's called a muffin monster. I thought I'd throw that in. The micropiles, as you know, they kind of went away for a little while. They're waiting for some braced wall, the concrete walls to get up, and then some steel to be erected before they come back. They got 23 more of those micropiles, and I hope after that we never talk about them again. Let's see, the waterproofing has started this month, so we got some waterproofing going on the exterior of it. The schedule is still, project schedule is still March of 2024. We've got a little time delayed because of the micropiles, but that's not settled out yet. The contractor's trying to fight and make that up by lagging trades and stuff like that. So the that's all I have on it. Any questions on progress to date? Okay.
There's no questions. Item 4B, change order number 7, Hamblen County Justice Center, Tony Pettit.
Yep. So can we get the next slide? There you go. This slide is, early on, if you recall, we were digging a retention pond, and we ran across an issue with Helen Ross McNabb's sanitary sewer that was coming in there kind of uncharted. We actually went ahead and had the civil engineer design a repair. We studied this repair on how to manage it and how to get it around. So this is this change order's got two things in it. The first one is this sanitary sewer reroute, and to get it in and around the retention pond. So, and it is in the amount of 67,000. Well, here it is, $67,908. So, is any questions on that issue? Okay, Trish, this next slide is the next slide is we have several elevators in this project, and one of the elevators is the security elevator. It's a double hoist elevator that goes through the security tower, and Bill Gates is trying to get us restarted. And I don't think this came in color, but down on the bottom floor, instead of having a machine room, and you have to have it fire rated and fire doors and labels on the doors, it's called a machine roomless elevator. So we don't have a machine room dedicated to operate all the electronics and hydraulics of it. And it goes in this control box. Well, after the submittals came through, it was determined that the control panel would not fit in an 8-inch CMU wall. So this cost of $337. Thank you, $337 is to make that wall from an 8-inch wall to a 10-inch wall at that level to allow that control panel to fit into that. So that's your two change orders, or two items in your change order.
Any questions? Do I hear a motion to approve the change order number 7?
I'll second.
Motion and a second.
We've got Mr. Richardson and Mr. Walker second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Let the ayes carry it. Item 4C, County Inmate Labor Usage Agreement, County Mayor. Bill Britton.
In your packet, you'll see an MOU between City of Morristown and Hamblen County and the Sheriff's Department. And basically, this is an agreement which we're just amending to help the City of Morristown staff their litter pickup crew that they have. And they use inmates out of the workhouse to pick up litter within the city boundaries. We have a program, too, where we use some of the inmates out of the workhouse to pick up litter on some of the major highways and outside of the city. What this agreement does, this is if you look on page 2 on attachment A, if you look at number 18 at the bottom of the page, that's the change to it. And basically what we're doing is previously the requirements were that the city would provide a post-certified law enforcement officer to supervise the inmates, who would then be trained and be certified as a corrections officer under the TCI training. What we've done to help the city fill their position is Sheriff Mullins has agreed that to drop the post-certified requirement, and that it just be an individual who goes through the certification of a corrections officer. And a female would be with females, a male with males. And so that's the difference in this document and the one that we've been using through the years. So Police Chief Overholt was very, very pleased with the sheriff and his agreeing to this change. It's going to help the city fill their position a lot easier and also help keep the area cleaner of litter. So it's my recommendation that you adopt and recommend the full commission adoption of this.
And the city is accepting all liabilities.
Yes, all medical liabilities if anybody gets hurt. Yes. Yeah. And city council will adopt this as well.
Any other comments, questions? Do I hear a motion we approve?
Make a motion. I'll second.
Mr. Long.
Motion by Mr. Long, second by
Mr. Richards.
Mr. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Carried. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Just one more item, if I would, and it's in a memo to you, just to on the 27th of October, on the 27th of this month, we're planning and scheduling, we don't have it scheduled yet, but tours for all of you to go through the existing jail facility and then get a tour of the construction site as well on the 27th. And then if you want time to discuss, if you want one-on-one time to have discussions about the Justice Center project with the design team and Brian Payne of Mosley Architect, then we can schedule that as well. And then, let's see. That's it. The tours of both sites. And then if you want one-on-one time with the design team, then we'll make that happen as well. If you'll just contact Trish that you want involved in that. On the tours, we'll have some in the morning and some in the afternoon to try to accommodate everybody. And then we'll work out a time for the one-on-one conversations with the design team. I just want to make you aware of that. That's on the 27th. It's a Tuesday.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chairman Horner. Chairman Hahn with the Finance Committee, you're recognized.
We'll open the Finance Committee. Do I have anyone wishing to make any comments or statements at this time? If not, we'll move on. In recurring business, our expenditures report is in your packets. You can look at those at your leisure. And a review and acceptance of monthly checks that was submitted by the county mayor's office are also in there. We don't need to take any, we don't need to vote on it. We need to vote. I need someone to make a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Mike Richardson and Stan Hartwell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Under new business, in item 4A, Resolution 22, initial resolution authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $4,675,000 general obligation bonds of Hamblen County, Tennessee landfill expansion, and Mr. Britton will address that.
In the process, or this deals with what you approved last month, and that was proceeding with the financing of our half of the expansion of the landfill. And so it's a two-step process, or actually a three-step process. First is the initial bond resolution, which the county commission has to pass. And that's what this first resolution is. And what it does is a couple of things. One, it sets a cap. It sets a limit on the number of bonds that can be issued. And that's the $4,675,000. That's the cap. That's the most that Hamblen County, you're setting a cap, the most Hamblen County can issue. And then second, if you'll look on, let's see, if you will look on the first page of the resolution in the notice, it's a public notice that's required that the county clerk has to get done, and it starts the clock ticking on a 20-day protest period. So if there's citizens who do not want these bonds issued, they can distribute petitions with the goal of getting at least 10% of the registered voters in the county to sign the petitions. And if it's certified, then it's stopped. But if that is not done during the 20-day protest period, then the bond issue moves forward. So that's the initial bond resolution. Two things it does. One, it sets the cap on the amount of bonds, and that's the $4,675,000 number. The second is it starts the 20-day protest period. And so we're recommending that you adopt this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'll make that motion that we accept that resolution with a cap of $4,675,000.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Let us vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 4B, Resolution 22, is a resolution authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds of Hamblen County, Tennessee, in the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $4,675,000 in one or more series, making provisions for the issuance, sale, and payment of said bonds, establishing the terms thereof, and the disposition of proceeds therefrom, and providing the levy of taxes for the payment of principal of premium, if any, and interest on the bonds. Mr. Mayor,
All right, this
you
is.
better sort that out for me, please.
This is the second step in the issuance of bonds for the landfill expansion. The first step is the initial bond resolution. The second step is this resolution which authorizes the issuance of the $4,675,000. So this is the resolution. It sets out, it sets in the document, you'll see the issue could go as far as 30 years, but that's not the plan. The plan is, and the wise thing to do is to issue the bonds for the length of the life of the asset. And so with this landfill expansion, the life on the expansion is 14 years. So the bond issue will be for 14 years. It'll be a level debt, which the same amount of principal will be paid off for the first year's interest only, then the next 13 years will be the same principal paid each year on that. The interest rate will not be determined until the day of sale, and then it'll be a competitive bid, which means that different companies that buy bonds, mostly banks or financial agencies, they'll bid that they'll pay X interest rate on the bonds. So all that will be determined the day of sale. But what this resolution does is it authorizes the sale of the bonds. And we're recommending adoption. And our plan right now is, there's not enough time to issue the bonds this year, this calendar year. Our plan is to issue them in January, which also will help us get the best interest rate possible, even in a rising interest rate environment, because there'll be what's called bank qualified bonds, which there's advantages for banks to purchase these bonds. and that will get us a lower interest rate. So that's the plan right now.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we move forward with this resolution to authorize the issuance of these general obligation bonds.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. We have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 4C is a request for pay raises from election, or actually for the election, planning, and road commissions. Do we hear a motion?
I'll make a motion.
A second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or discussion? All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Item 4D, the purchase of voting machines. Mr. Mayor, address that.
Sure. In your packet is a memo from me, just outlining the Election Commission's request to purchase new voting machines using federal money through the state, where the state will provide us a voting machine grant where we would purchase 80 machines, and at no cost to us. It would be completely paid for by a grant through the State Election Commission. What we're asking for is to proceed with the bidding of the machines, so we can purchase the machines. Now, it is a grant that we have to front the money, so we pay for the machines, and once they're paid, we make an application for reimbursement from the state. So, and the state has made a commitment to reimburse us this fiscal year. So what the Election Commission would like to do is have the machines by March so they can use them in the May city election, use it in early voting in April, and in the May city elections to get one election under their belt using the new machines. And Jeff, if you want to explain about the machines.
What it is, back earlier this year, the State House and Senate passed that by 2024, we have to go to some kind of paper trail voting machine. So the state has certified 5 different vendors, which we will be placing the bids out to. All true honesty, we like Microvote, the regional company. They have a good one that it just changes a little bit. You still have the electronic pad that you vote. Once you make your selections, you'll have a paper machine inside a box. It's locked, it's secure. When you make that selection, all your selections will come up on paper in that box. And if you see that it is what you want, you hit the cast ballot button, it rolls it up where nobody can see it. It comes with a scan code at the bottom. If there's ever a problem, they have come up with a deal where you put it on a machine and it spins the paper roll and it takes a picture of that to do a recount if somebody wanted a paper trail recount. The others, I know my commissioner are probably not fond. They're trash cans. It's like you've seen in Georgia, where you take the ballot, you go mark it, and you take it over to the thing that looks like a trash can, scan it through. We're a little leery of those. We like the electronic deal. I mean, all it is a glorified calculator. So that's what we're looking at. And like he said, the state has pretty much guaranteed us that we'll get 100% back on the thing. So, and there is a video that I could provide you if you would like to look at what our most interest is. And it goes through.
Ballpark figure, I know you're bidding this out, but just for my information, ballpark figure, what kind of money are these machines?
Around 2 million. No. I think the state has offered us up to 550,000.
That'll cover 80 of them?
But in speaking of microvote, we're hoping 375. But, I mean, that's just a ballpark figure.
Nah, I'm just curious. I have no idea.
Is the 80 voting machines the total number that you need, or is that?
We have 78 now, and we have some that we keep as spares just in case. So we thought we'd go ahead and get 80, just to give us a little cushion if something did go wrong.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Garner.
Question. I'm assuming this will make a recount a lot faster.
If it happens, now, by law, recounts can only happen by Chancery Court order. So, I mean, once we even count absentee ballots, if somebody goes, well, count them again, we cannot do that unless we get a court order. So we would only do a recount. We've only had one this last time, and that was that constitutional amendment back 2014 maybe, that was on the ballot that people questioned, and we had to, which we have a paper trail, we can go back and print off, but it's something you really don't want to do.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So move.
Have a motion, we have a second? Thank you. Motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Item 4E, the trustee report. Trustee Scotty Long.
This is something, I'm gonna guess it's not new. I mean, I don't know if it's new, but in the past. But you will start getting a monthly copy of my financial trustees report, which is basically your fund cash balances. And it'll be in your packet every month, hopefully before the committee meeting, unless there may be something done. But we file this report on the 10th of every month. It's when we close out our month, and then copy goes to the finance department downstairs, goes to the Hamblen County School Board, and the clerk, she keeps that on file for public record. Two things are in here, and I want you to look at one, and Bill and I worked on this. And this came about, I'm going to explain a little bit about how this came about. Commissioner Howe came in and was asking me about check expenditures and how the monies were spent, et cetera. And she was requesting, you know, that like some boards that she'd been on before, you got a treasurer's report. So basically, that's what this is, giving you a treasurer's report every month. It'll be in your packet every month. Simple thing that Bill and I want to do, because it gets kind of confusing when you look at these fund names. In the back of your book, if you all can turn to the back, you'll get a little reference. I want to kind of go over this with you.
Cheat
See it.
sheet.
And what it is, it's got the fund names and then the general description of what they are. And Bill, Mayor here, helped me work through it. We went through it and gave it basic names. But you see, they refer a lot to the general fund as the 101 fund. You can see what it actually is: the main operating fund, Sheriff's Department, courts, courthouse, and general government services. Comes out of that fund. We won't go all the way through all of them, but most of them, if you see over to the left on my report, will be the name of the fund, the number. Over here to the right is a general description of what it is, to give you a common layman's terms. Down toward the bottom, you'll see on the report, there's two or three, a little bit confusing, but most of them are self-explanatory. Trust and agency, now that one's kind of a little bit strange. What that is, that's a sales tax account that I use when the money comes in from the state of Tennessee. We book it into the trust and agency fund, and then it's dispersed to the city or to the city of White Pine. We have two different agencies. There's a little section out on exit 8 that citizens live in Hamblen County, but they're incorporated in the city of White Pine. And so those funds. So we have to issue a check to the city of White Pine, and then we wire the funds to the city of Morristown. But just for some of your information, we make a little money off of it. You can see that on my report because we get to keep a commission. The trustee's office gets to keep a commission, which is actual county funds, so we handle those monies for them. Overpayments, and what are overpayments? That's all my office can do is distribute a check based on overpayments, and which is that, it's the overflow account, excuse me, you see there, it's tax overpayments. Someone sends in an overpayment of the check, or if we have to do a assessor's change where we have to issue a refund, that's what that overflow account is, if you see it. Just basically tax overpayments. And we use that a lot. Undistributed funds, or undistributed taxes, that's at 28310. That is prepaid tax account, like beginning of the year before the commission adopts the new budget. Example, DOT's been buying up the road project up on the east end. You know, they pay the taxes on the property based on what your form of what it is there, and we book it to that, and then we have to apply it to the tax roll once it comes back into us in August. So those are just prepaid tax accounts. Some closing companies will do it. The trustees commission, and the fees and commission, and the trustees office, which is a commission account, those two are just a wash account there on all the fees that we're collecting. So is there any questions about some of those? So this will stay in your book. This will be your index. Your go-to sheet to go look if you want to know what Fund 263 is, and give you a little bit of a layman's terms of here what it is on this side.
Appreciate that.
So that's to
Trustee,
stay.
I do have a question that I don't quite understand. I'm sure you can help me. But the Fund 999, the trustee's office, and then the 29900, are
Okay.
those two related?
Okay, if you go to, let me just show you how this works out. Go to the actual, now can you pull up the actual report?
Right, got it?
Go look at the report. What this is, Chris, is the agency and offices, that is our commission fees, and that's where you'll see the two numbers, and I guess that's a cumulative total of many, many years, but it washes out every time we zero out the month. The only difference is there's $1,700 on hand in my office, cash on hand, that the clerks use.
I see.
So if you look down there, you'll see 999 trustees office on report, 10,391,000. And then that 322, that was an inherited, that has been removed. Now it came from the previous administration. The overflows is taken care of, and then down to 10,392, those numbers wash each other out right there.
That's what I was thinking, but I'm just making sure they were
Well, if you
associated.
go down that list, if you go down the right side over there, the ending balance on this financial report, I've
Right.
jumped over to it now since he wanted to do that. These are your cash fund balances. Your cash balances in your funds as of the end of September. And then at the total bottom, it gives you the cumulative total of all the money. And that's the same amount of money that is in the bank accounts that I'm in trust with, I guess would be the right word, controller. So, and how the system works, and I guess back in the day, I think I'm trying to learn a little bit about it, was a warrant system, now it's a check system. But the school system needs to write $250,000 worth of checks. They request a transfer of funds from our office. If they don't have a fund balance, they don't get a transfer. Okay, so that's how it works. They gotta have a fund balance. As the money comes in, the monies are accrued and booked to the funds. We can get into that a lot more. I'd love sometime just to take an hour, you guys sit down and show you and tell you exactly what I know now that I didn't know when I was in that seat.
Right, right.
How all the taxes come in and funds, and they're split up. They're split up through your resolution that you set up and you sign first at the beginning of the year. And this will be in there every month.
Thank you for that new
Every
information.
month. And it'll be basically like what Ms. Howe was asking for, it was a treasury report, show you what the county's monies are. Okay?
Yes, sir.
And then, any questions?
We certainly thank you for that
Oh,
information. Thank you,
It'll be
Mr.
there.
Long.
Just like she said, it was always, most meetings or board meetings, you need a treasury report.
It's good to have. Thank you. Good information, thank you. Moving on, item 4F, SIP services for new phone system. Mr. Mayor?
Just one last comment on the trustees report is, that report's for the end of September. As you go through the year, kind of watch those cash balances. We are right now at the low end of our cash flow because the taxes will be started collecting in October. So you can kind of see how the cash flow moves. And the high point is February, March, which is the end of tax season, and the low part is August, September. So that's just something for you to look at and to watch for. What's before you here as far as the SIP services? What this is we're about ready to install our new phone system, which is the lifeblood of most businesses this day, and especially ours. And so what this service does is and you guys have already approved the purchase of the phones. We have the phone units. We have them. They've already installed the new data lines. They're voice over IP phones, which means the voices travel over the internet. And so what this service does is it gives us a dial tone. It's unlike your analog phone system. It's a digital phone system. So this service gives us our dial tone. And in the memo, you can see exactly what we get for the service, and the contract and a little breakdown of the cost is in your packet as well. But our consultant, Telcom Audit Group, who interviewed the folks who submitted proposals, they're recommending Mettel Communications. And what we're getting for $1,151.15 a month is we're getting 600 megabyte broadband internet connection with Spectrum. Now that is in addition to what we already have with FiberNet. We use them for our internet service. And what this does is, it supplies another internet source. That's the one that'll primarily be the phone system internet connection. And then the next item on this bullet list, the SD-WAN, that is a device that is used to give us redundancy. So let's say this Spectrum service went down, okay? Instead of our phone system going down, this SD-WAN system will move the telephone calls to the FiberNet service. And so let's say FiberNet goes down. This device will move our internet service to Spectrum. So this gives us redundancy, and this is something that we've wanted to do for a couple of years, and because, for example, the trustee's office, their software that they use for receiving tax payments is all cloud-based. And so if internet goes out, they're dead in the water. They can't conduct business. So now we'll have two internet services to make sure that we don't go out of service and they can keep doing business. And that's the same way with most of our offices today is that their software and their programs that they use, they're mostly proprietary, and they're cloud-based. And so that's a big advantage of this service. And then also, if there's any internet problems, these devices will investigate and notify us of that. And then we also, in this, get 10,000 minutes of long-distance service a month. And we rarely, very rarely, go over 10,000 minutes a month. Now, this is countywide, okay? This isn't just one office. This is countywide. And the money that we have, and this will replace our AT&T long-distance service that we have now. And so the money is in the budget. This is money that we have been paying to AT&T will now be paid to Mettel for their service. So we have the money in the budget to do this. This will get get us an advanced phone system and replace the system that we have now that I think was installed around 97, I think. Or maybe it was 07, sorry. It was around 07 is when it was installed. And it's now, it can't be serviced. So, so that's why we approached the commission to buy a new phone system, and that has been purchased. Now this will get us up and running. So our request is that you approve the contract with Met Telecommunications. Questions?
This 36 months.
This is a 36-month contract. Yes, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Have a motion? Need a second? A motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions about this? All right. Okay.
Yes, Mike
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Mayor, I had one question. It's okay, service contract, I mean, they're available to walk us through if we do have technological,
Oh,
Like-
for training and that kind of thing?
all that kind of thing, and maintenance backup, or,
On the SD-WAN
yes, sir.
device, yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, let's vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Item 4G, budget amendments, Fund 101, County Commission, $5,250. Mr. Mayor.
This budget amendment is for the purchase of an update to your voting system. And it was something that wasn't included in the budget. Actually, we have in the budget money for the maintenance for the old system. But with the transition in the county clerk's office, we missed including the upgrade of the voting system, which will make it more stable and more user-friendly. And so it's $5,250, and that would increase the county commission budget for 1 year, and then it comes from our fund balance. That's it. Questions?
Take a motion.
Motion? So moved. Second?
It was Rodney Long. Yes.
Mike Richardson.
Mike Richardson motioned and Rodney Long second.
Do we have any other discussion or questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Hahn. And now, unbeknownst to him, I'm certain, Personnel Committee, we're going to recognize Vice Chair Harville tonight as in absence of Chairman Doty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Call the Personnel Committee to order. Anyone wishing to address the Personnel Committee at this time? Seeing none, there being no old business, new business, approval of education pay submissions, 4A.
I'll make that motion.
Motion? Second. Mr. Horner? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 4B, approval of longevity pay submissions.
Make a motion.
Motion? Second, Mr. Huntsman? Sorry.
Mr. Huntsman. Well, Kyle Walker was too. I don't know who actually got it.
Kind of nip and tuck.
Yeah, it's got a nip and tuck there. That's why I was looking this way. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, likewise? Motion passes. No items of interest, Mr. Chairman. We stand adjourned.
Thank you, Vice Chair Harrell. We'll move on to the Public Service Committee now, and we will recognize Chairman Mike Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Call to order the Public Services Committee at this time. Any visitors wishing to address the committee?
Yes, 1 second, Gwen, 1 second, please. She's just gonna pull up the timer for you. You need me to get it for you? Okay.
We'll just do the phone, let me get the phone.
Here, I've got mine if you want to do it.
Okay.
When Hamblen, 8150 West Point Drive. I want to talk about the Urban Growth Coordinating Committee. I want to talk about the urban growth. I know that we are fixing to put exit 8 in urban growth. I called the manager of the wet utilities and asked him who was going to be over the water out there when they annexed all that. I never got an answer back from Mr. Harris. So what I'm wondering is, who's going to be over the water when they annex that? Is Mr. Harris going to give up his water rights to MUS? That's a question that I would like to know, if they're going to give up their water rights to MUS when the people are annexed into the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else at this time? Seeing none, we'll go to old business. 3A, there is none. Item 4A, Urban Growth Coordinating Committee. Mayor Bill Britton.
In the memo that's in your packet, it just went over kind of the steps of the urban growth boundary process, and that the first public hearing was held earlier, well, I think the last week of September. Most of you were there. And then the next public hearing that the county has to hold will be next Thursday during the commission meeting. The city is holding their second one on the 18th, on Tuesday, at their council meeting. And then once that second public hearing takes place, then the coordinating committee is formed. And what's on this memo is the individuals who will represent their entities on the committee. For example, the county mayor, if the county commission approves it, the city mayor, if city council approves it, a representative from Morristown Utilities. Taylor Howington is the manager of Russellville Whitesburg. Has the most customers of all the water utility districts, so Taylor will be a member of the coordinating committee. He was there the other night. Sonia Ricker, the administrator of the Soil Conservation District, someone from the Soil Conservation District has a slot on the committee, and her board appointed her to that position. Board of Education will appoint someone. The Chamber of Commerce will appoint someone. My appointment of Bill Hicks as a building contractor and a planning commissioner, and then Commissioner Harville, who's the property that is being requested to be placed into the urban growth boundary is in Commissioner Harville's district. Then the city mayor has 2 appointments. So that's the basis, the base membership of this committee. There can be more. If you guys would like to have more representation, you can talk to me about that, and I can make that appointment. The one thing that I do ask action to take this month is that I'm asking the commission to approve appointing me to this committee. And that's part of the process in the law.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we have a request to appoint Bill Britton to the, make a motion? Motion
Kyle Walker.
by Kyle Walker, second by Rodney Long. Any discussion? No discussion, we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next, item 4B, resolution to amend the zoning map of Hamblen County, Tennessee by rezoning District 3, Tax Map 19, Parcel 20.16 on Old Russellville Pike, St. Clair Road, Whitesburg, from C1 to A1. Lori?
Yes, and good evening to the commission. This rezoning request comes from applicant and property owners Ricky and Virginia Maiden. They've requested that their property, which is located at the northeast intersection of Old Russellville Pike and St. Clair Road, be rezoned from its current designation of commercial or C1 to A1, which is agriculture. The 1 acre lot had previously been rezoned to commercial in 2001, along with the lot that adjoins it to the north. Since that time, neither parcel has ever developed as a commercial business. The lot to the north was rezoned back to its original designation of A1 in 2002 and is now owned by New Life Baptist Church. The Maidens are wishing to build a residential house on the property, which requires residential zoning, as the surrounding properties are zoned A1 and R1, which is single-family residential. Rezoning to either district would be acceptable. As this area of the county is not developed into anything but pretty much residential housing, staff would recommend the rezoning request be approved, as did your planning commission at their last meeting. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Well, we should probably take a,
To Lori. Any questions, Lori?
is it going to be, you're moving it from C1 to A1 is
A1
what your
would be our
recommendation
preference,
is? Is there a particular reason from A1 rather than R1, or just,
It really is surrounded by more A1 zoning than R1.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, so do we have a motion to accept this, or put in place this resolution?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Ahern, second. Second by Mr. Walker. Any discussion? No discussion. Take a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is 4C, surplus items from Maintenance Department. Terry Myers, questions, comments? Okay. Surplus amount? Okay. Okay, so do we have a motion to surplus 2 trucks in question?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Mr. Harville,
Second.
second by Mr. Hahn. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That's all we have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Richardson. Thank you, sir. And we'll move now to Calendar and Rules Committee, and we will call on Vice Chair Tim Horner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'll call the Calendar and Rules Committee to order. If there's anyone who wishes to address this committee, may do so at this time. Seeing none, item 3, no business. Item 4A, review of regular calendar items. And do I hear a motion?
I have a motion.
Have a motion by
Second.
Commissioner Ahern and a second by Commissioner Huntsman. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4B, review of consent calendar items. Do I hear a motion?
A motion.
Motion by Commissioner Huntsman. There's a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richardson. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Horner, Vice Chair Horner of the County Rules. Folks, that concludes our business. I have a couple of announcements. That's all our business for tonight. Of course, take note of our meeting next Thursday, the 20th, right here at 5 p.m. Also, from the mayor's office, our Human Resources Manager, Wendy Williams, has sent each of us, we have a form that we need to fill out and get back to her, whether you have changes or not. You need to have your health information updated with her. Second to that, we have scheduled on our next commission day, October the 20th, from 2 o'clock until 4:30 in the afternoon, we're going to have our pictures made, updated pictures for our commission. So please take note of that. Also in that, I'm going to add that at some point, we're going to try our best to have an updated group picture. So please, everyone, try to be here and so we can get that done and you be included in that picture. And lastly, as Commissioner Perkey had stated, this coming Saturday at 10 a.m. at Tennessee College of Applied Technology, we have our public safety radio system ribbon cutting. He's invited each one of us to be there, and that's all I have. All minds clear? We're adjourned.